welcome back to today's episode of Crypto. Oh my God, there's some news circulating about it. I'm gonna hop right into it. So I'm very happy to see the unwinding of the Biden admin's enforcement campaigns. This came from everyone from the SEC under Gary Gensler to the Fed under Powell and even the FBI, who came after so many people just for a variety of reasons that were really unclear and to this day haven't been fully brought to the surface. Well, now they're beginning to unwind those cases, return all of the seized assets, and here we see Jesse Powell, the founder and former CEO of Kraken Exchange, who says, very glad to have this behind me. It never made sense, but neither does the Roman storm trial. Wild how quickly you can have your life upended. I'm grateful for those who saw through it and my stellar legal team, now turning my attention back to Kraken. So he actually dropped away from Kraken as a result of this. And this was because, again, the FBI burst into his home and, as he said, upended his entire life. For those who don't remember, this was a couple years ago. They broke into his house. They seized his devices. They leaked this to the New York Times. And of course, this was a move against Kraken. And Jesse has been a very loud voice in the libertarian ideals of Bitcoin, of cryptocurrency, Kraken being one of the legacy exchanges in the United States. So they did this to Jesse. They did this to Shane Copland of Polymarket, who also recently had his charges dropped, and beyond. And of course, coming back to Polymarket, if we recall a few years ago, the CFTC came at them and said, hey, you're offering illegal futures trading in the United States. Well, they are set to re-enter the US market with the $112 million acquisition of QSEC's derivative exchange. So they are now acquiring an exchange regulated by the CFTC. And if we do recall, what is going on with the Clarity Act does provide people to raise under SEC guidance, prove decentralization, and move over to commodities trading under the CFTC. Also a pretty aggressive regime, but this is nice to see, again, that this specter of the past, of this enforcement age, which was very much the same way ICE is running raids on the immigrants, and not to be insensitive, but it is actually true. We were getting a very similar treatment of anyone working within the cryptocurrency industry. Now, other fun things going on, obviously talking about JPOW, but there's been this resignation letter going around, and this is just kind of a funny wake-up call to say, hey guys, just because you see something, especially if you see it on the internet, just never trust anything. I mean, especially if it's still, but even video is getting sus. I mean, we can look at the letter and whatever, but just come in here on the stamp, right? The audio of Federal Reserve. So these signs are all over, and I beg of you, just take a moment to realize that you're looking at BS made from AI, and that there's no facts to be had here. This is pretty prominent across everything, and it's really picking up. I've noticed with advertisers, I'm seeing a lot of what looks like real people talking about, hey, I have this product and I own all these things, and I can see from their mouths it's just AI. So do be wary. I am beginning to dive into AI avatars for myself. The editing software I use for this program has amazing AI vocal qualities. I can really just type out things and Graham says them, and it's absolutely wild. So all that is to say, stay vigilant, stay sus, and do not believe what you see out there. Now, one thing that's pissing me off today, and I like to be pissed because it's fun to yell at the camera, Fox News style, but the reality is we got this announcement today that PNC Bank announces strategic partnership with Coinbase. Now, why does this frustrate me? Obviously, great to see banks partnering with Coinbase. Coinbase stock, probably a great buy now that they're doing crypto as a service for banks. But PNC is from Pittsburgh, my hometown. I am from Pittsburgh. Many of my friends and my family have banked with PNC or do continue to do so. However, through my evangelism over the past, I want to say, decade, it's been a very long time of fighting PNC on this endeavor. Anyone that sent money from PNC to Coinbase or tried to buy Bitcoin or did anything with crypto ran a risk of getting their entire account shut down. In fact, they couldn't even send money to Coinbase. PNC would kibosh that. They would say no. And I've had many friends give up the bank entirely. I've had family open new accounts under JP Morgan Chase or something like that just to be able to log into Coinbase. And it was one of the most loud and obvious examples of why the current system sucked, right? Everyone who went through this process suddenly started scratching their head and going, hey, this is my money. Why are you preventing me from moving it? And in that moment, they came to terms with the fact, oh, maybe there is a problem with the banking system. Maybe there is something to this Bitcoin narrative. So in PNC's act of trying to prevent people from purchasing Bitcoin, they, lo and behold, enlightened people towards the virtues of cryptocurrency and self-custody. So it's all very funny. But they did such aggressive actions at like closing bank accounts, at basically putting up all of this friction and causing these strifes that didn't need to exist, and just to sort of see them kind of capitalizing on it now, like, I give you a big fuck you to PNC Bank. And bias aside, it's probably good signal. There are a lot of people that bank with PNC, but like, this was just one of those banks that I'm like, don't use them, boycott them. Let's not let them into the circle, because they were so aggressive in trying to shut us down. And well, that's enough on that. Now, before I sign off, I just want to say I'm leaving you with this one graphic image I found from Alexander Kuzmin, because this was actually one of the things that got me into crypto very early on, was just the structures of what a credit card transaction looked like. And this is an awesome advertisement if I've ever seen one. But when you go into a credit card transaction, whether it be from Apple Pay, Google Pay, of course, when I was inspired by this earlier on, there wasn't even Apple Pay and Google Pay, to be honest with you. But you can see that the credit information just gets passed between a variety of companies. And what goes with that, what comes along with the financial transaction information, is the full KYC data: who you are, where you live, your account history, things like that. And when you start to realize just how much that information is being passed around, being shared, I mean, we see these massive exploits of KYC all the time. Even the social security numbers are not safe enough to prevent that sort of exploitation. So this is just something to always, I've talked about it before and stay aware on, but I really do like this graphic, because you can see this really conundrum of data sharing and all this information. And it's not just the money that gets sent in these. It's not just the money that gets sent in these setups. It's a full gamut of your information that is open to exploit from any one of these businesses. Should they fail security in one way or another? And security is pretty easy to fail. Then we look at cryptocurrency. Not only is it not sending your information, it is only sending the money. It's doing it 24/7, 365 for very low fees. And it's boom to boom. And to be honest, and there's a recent open source update for Bitcoin that allows people to move it peer-to-peer between phones with no internet connection whatsoever. So basically saying we can sign the private transaction between even an Apple and a Google device, all on the Bluetooth capabilities. And when those addresses reconnect to the Bitcoin blockchain, it will be finalized and agreed upon. But that is just showing you the power of self-sovereign money versus these giant clusterfucks of businesses. And of course, everyone in here is making money off you somehow. So obviously, the solution on the right, the cryptocurrency one, does seem like the future, and it's just kind of tough for me to argue against that. I don't see why you would really want to support all of this, Elizabeth Warren. Anyway, it's not the craziest news day. Roman Storm trial continues. There's more people giving testimony that don't really seem related to Tornado Cash, so we are hoping we will see that mistrial. And it's nice to see the FBI giving up and pulling back from all of these egregious cases that came out in the last presidential cycle. So let us shed that specter of enforcement actions of the windbreakers busting through your windows, and let's move forward, especially given the Genius Act and the Clarity Act, into a future where we can build robust companies with good compliant regulations under them and allow us to flourish and build a new format for money. We are digitizing the world, and this is just a really simple and straightforward narrative. With that being said, don't lever up too much and enjoy the markets out there, and I'll see you tomorrow.